Hi everyone, welcome to one more live from all of us here at the Pain Free Dentist. And today's live is unique and special because I am doing this as a work from home, but a work from vacation sort of live. So I will wait for most of you to join in, and as most of you have been following what we do and the kind of work that we've been bringing forward and showing you, today's live is all about protection strategies. So hi Rahul, hi Hetal, good to see you guys to join us. And so I am actually talking to you live from Dubai today, and on this trip, in fact, the entire concept of our protection, our safety has been really what I've been thinking about. Because as I took my first flight after 8 months, I realized that the world is changing every single day. The world has probably changed for the better part of the future that we know. And I could see that not only as doctors and dentists, but also as people, we are all worried about our safety. So whether you're a passenger on a plane or whether you're a patient in a dental clinic, protection is something that we all need to continue to take. And where I'm talking to you from today, Dubai has probably moved on to being maybe 6 months ahead of us in the pandemic, where despite cases rising every day, they are still functioning, they're still open, and this is only because of the protective measures that they have instituted in everything from their restaurants to their malls to their apartments to their flights. They are taking some serious protective measures, and that's what is, I think, our future back home in Mumbai as well. Unless we take our protection seriously, there is probably no going back to a normal, as we say, right? So hi Dr. Arun, hi Abhinav, hi Preeti, hi Faiza. Good to have you guys join us this evening rather. And do tell us, are there any challenges that you are facing in terms of your safety and protection? I'm sure all of us are aware of wearing a mask or wearing a PPE, depending on where we are. But are we really clear about how long this will go on? Are we still working from the mindset that one fine day everything will be okay and everything will be fine? Well, guys, I can tell you, I am looking at a place which has already opened up completely, and let's just say that certain protective measures will always be part of our system and our process today. Like, even if we are stepping out to eat a meal, right here we are wearing masks throughout. We will only enter the place once we are only with our group is when we can remove the mask. So the mask has become an accessory that's going to protect us for life. And when I say for life, I don't know, but for the foreseeable future for sure. Hi Gaurav, hi Haji Ali Chaudhry, hi Varun Garg. You guys can interact, say hello. We would love to hear from you. And the whole idea of doing this live is to discuss and brainstorm with you all on matters that are of urgency when it comes to our safety and protection. So Preeti is asking me, she's telling me that she's looking forward to another session today. Great. And I want to make this session really all about the future of how we're going to use protective strategies. Now, I'm not just talking about masks and PPEs. I am actually talking to you today about protection at all levels. And I think a few days ago you all must have seen our post, which was about multi-tiered protection. And we keep talking to you about these things because these are thought starters, things which remind us that things are not normal still, and that if we ever want to go towards a normal, it is with the right safety protective measures. Only then will we see that happen. So we're talking about levels of protection. Now, we may talk about a mask or a PPE, which is at the physical level, right? We all agree, and we've all been using these things from time to time, depending on our professions. So I think some of you here must be doctors, some of you here must be patients. And what I was seeing, in fact, on my flight here was that even in the aviation industry, protection is taken so seriously. You know, we had seats, and the middle person, if you were on a seat that was occupied all three in that row, then you would end up wearing a PPE if you were the middle person. And just see how, you know, even aviation industry, which is so well known for their systems and protocols, has actually come up with a strategy to keep everybody safe, even though they'll be stuck in a flight together for, you know, the next couple of hours. So the middle person wears a PPE, and we receive a pack which has, again, protective gear. So we get gloves, masks, sanitizers, and all these little things which you require to keep yourself safe, right? So I think every industry is doing something to protect themselves. And if you have seen some of our past lives, you may have seen that we do talk about these things from our book, and this is one of the chapters in our book. And I was just noticing that, you know, a simple infographic like this will teach you how to protect yourself. So this is what I'm talking about, multi-tiered protection. And for those of you who are not big readers, at least I could discuss this with you from the book. It's a simple concept where we are talking about safeguarding every single system or every single surface that we touch. So when I talk about multi-tiered protection, I'm talking to you about 5 strategies today. And the first one, of course, is physical protection. And when we say physical protection, I'm talking about masks and PPE. Like I was telling you about my flight here and the masks and PPE that we were wearing, we were even given face shields to wear. Very, very similar to a regular day at work for me as a dentist. And yeah, Preeti's asking me, where can we get this book? I will post the links below. For those of you who are seeing me for the first time, this is a book that I have written. It's about our experience through the pandemic, not only as dentists but as people, because we realized that our lives have changed. We went through something for the last 6 months, but we have come out on top, adapting with a new normal. And this new normal is something that I do not want any of us to stop, to get complacent, because if we ever want to come out of this disease or this pandemic, we will have to make certain safety measures our friends, right? And with that, I come to the first one, which is physical protection. So every single barrier, be it gloves, be it PPE, be it a mask, that we're using for our physical protection is something that we need to keep in mind, and something that we need to learn to use, but use responsibly. And the reason I'm saying use responsibly is because of the fact that we need to know that we have to have a planet for our kids tomorrow, right? And with all these self-protective barriers, I was watching a documentary on how masks are showing up everywhere. In nature now, a mask is, thrown, and if it's not biodegradable, it's not, all of these things are made of non-biodegradable substances. And this can cause a lot of environmental pollution. So to solve one problem, we're actually creating a bigger problem. So what I'm really trying to tell you all, and probably what I would love to hear back from you all, is the fact that the responsible use of physical protective barriers, isn't that the next thing that we should be all looking out for? Because of the fact that while in the short term, we are all thinking of protecting ourselves, it's very important that we also think of how we're going to protect the planet. The planet and everyone has been through something that has been a challenge. And in order to come out of one challenge, we don't want to create another challenge for the future. So thank you, Faisal. And I guess you're saying congratulations for the book. Thank you. And I really want all of you to read this book and think about the things that can be taken into the future, not just as a short-term measure for being safe at this point. And that's what I mean by when we talk about physical protection. Let's talk about the responsible use of this physical protection. All of us as dentists now have started using either PPE which is reusable or PPE based on the kind of procedure we are doing. We understand the virus and the pandemic enough to know that we no longer have to wear a full PPE suit for every single case. Based on the amount of aerosol that we are going to generate, that's how we take a sort of informed decision on which type of PPE we are going to be wearing. We also have some other strategies in this conversation which will help you strategize your physical protection in a more cost-effective way, as well as in a more judicious way when it comes to the planet and the environment as well, right? So with that, we move on. I think if some of you have noticed my background today, I am in Dubai, and for even them, protection, I think, is an age-old concept, right? Wearing a mask or wearing something on your face is definitely something that was not just done for the pandemic, but it's a form of protection. Be it protection from someone looking at you, be it protection for your skin or face, or it's a protection of culture. So whichever way you look at it, the mask is going to be something that's going to stay with us for a long time, but we need to learn to use something which is biodegradable, something which is environmental friendly, eco-friendly as well. And with that, we come to the second tier of protection. And I think the next thing that we're really scared of touching or using or is everything that we come in contact with, right? Be it a elevator button, or be it a surface or a table that we touch, or maybe a railing when you're traveling. Any little surface that you're coming in contact with, you want to make sure that this surface is sterilized. Now, what are the things you're going to do to be confident when you travel, or to be confident when you're treating a patient in your own clinic? Now imagine if you were a patient at the clinic. What is the one thing that will reassure you? It'll reassure you to see what are the measures people are taking to sanitize surfaces. You will definitely see what are the physical protective barriers they're giving you, but you'll also see how they're sterilizing their surfaces. And the most important thing, I feel, is using the right type of solutions for the right kind of surface. A lot of times I think people are just using maybe 70% alcohol, but be wary of the fact that when we are buying these things, are they authentic? Are they FDA approved? Are these solutions actually killing the virus as the manufacturers claim? Because we've seen a surge in not only PPE manufacturers, but also in overnight factories and manufacturing plants that are being created for creating disinfectants. But are these really authentic is something that we need to check and see. And based on the type of surface, please ensure that you're using the right type of chemical. Now, one very important thing that we need to start thinking about is, in order to let's say sterilize a surface or to clean a particular space, are we overusing chemicals? Are we really getting affected by the fumes? Are we over sanitizing? Where are we with this for the foreseeable future? Are we going to be able to keep up these things? And are they actually going to backfire and be harmful to us? So there are a lot of chemicals which are being used which may not be safe to inhale. But in our over enthusiasm to sterilize at this point, we are using anything and everything, which I strongly suggest let's not let fear ride drive us into actually using things which are not safe for us. So let's do our research and let's use safe chemicals at the right dilution. If you are going to end up buying a product, please check for FDA approval and please look into actually creating the right dilution yourself. Many times we end up giving these solutions to our staff and then they are misused or they are used in the wrong proportions, and we end up suffering the side effects of it. A very common story could be of something like using quaternary ammonium compounds without realizing the concentration, the fumes they release. Even if you're using chlorine dioxide products and tablets, please make sure that you're evacuating the room and leaving it like that for maybe an overnight duration, and ventilating the room after the use of such chemicals. So when you're talking about surface sterilization, please make sure that it's being done very religiously without any side effects. That's how we're going to ensure that if the virus survives on various surfaces, which we are all aware it does, it can still be killed and sanitized with the right kind of chemicals. So, hi Dr. Darshan, hi Michelle, hi Vinay Kumar. If any of you guys have questions or even your own experiences to share with us, please go ahead and let us know, because we are talking about protection as a community, as a dental community. We want to safeguard our patients, and what we are facing in the dental community is not very different from what the other industries are facing as well. And while we have come up with a strategy to protect ourselves, I'm sure this can help people across industries. So have a conversation with your patients, ask them what's happening in their industry, how are they safeguarding themselves, and it might just give you some great ideas, right? And so we were talking about physical protection, we're talking about surface protection, and the third and most important thing, which we have been reading about or we want to educate ourselves more about, is air disinfection. There are studies that prove that the virus does get transmitted by air to a certain extent, and we want to be sure that the air we breathe, be it for a dependent like a child or be it for our old parents in the house, are they safe? Are they breathing the right kind of air? Is there a possibility that there could be virus contamination in our rooms, in our isolated spaces? What are we really doing to protect ourselves from that? So I think some popular methods that have been discussed and have been looked at is HEPA filters, which are being used not only in clinical spaces, in medical hospitals, but they're also being used in a flight. Like a flight is fully protected with HEPA filters, and I think this technology existed way before COVID even came along. And that's why flights are spaces which are not really, they are absolutely safe from the point of view of the way the air changes. And we could employ the same technology in our homes. We could employ the same technology in our offices. And that's something that everyone should know about, not only a medical professional. So a HEPA filter is an air purifier that we should be trying to get our hands on and make sure that that's the kind of air we breathe. It's not just the virus, but many other pollutants that are part of our air. And with small rooms, with isolated spaces, with no ventilation, we want to make sure that our air in our rooms is changing. If you have a good, well ventilated space, then installing something as simple as an exhaust fan works really well, and making sure that there's a proper, well ventilated space keeps the area healthy for even your patient or your family member. And if we could even look into certain things like what else do we use for air change, what else do we use for disinfecting the air, it could be things like fogging and fumigation. But here again, it's the chemical that we're using. If it's not FDA approved, if you don't understand what long-term impact it can have, not only on inhaling it, but also on the surfaces in your room, you don't want to get into something like fogging and fumigation then. Please ensure that you are researching what you're putting into your air, claiming when that is going to sanitize the air. If you don't want to do too much, then just an air purifier or just ventilating your space is good enough. The other thing we have spoken about in the past and even mentioned in our book is a UV light. A UVC light, to be specific, is something that can be used for a short period of time, but the thing to watch out for is that you cannot have any human contact or any human exposure to this UV light. So when we buy, initially we bought a lot of equipment which we didn't even know how to use, and which we would end up endangering our staff or our house help in our enthusiasm to be safe. We didn't even give proper instructions, right? So please be careful when you're creating safety parameters for yourself. Do not end up endangering someone else. So if you have a UVC light with the right wavelength, which is 254 nanometers, please make sure that the room is clear when it's being used. So there are things like UV chambers, there are things like UV lights which can sterilize a small space. Do use these in order to create a sort of virucidal effect to kill the virus. but don't please make sure that the people handling these devices are well informed about the side effects of getting exposed. So what we ended up getting was a remote control UV light, which really helps us you know without having anyone in the room. We put on the light, and for 10 minutes it sterilizes especially the dental chair, both the head and the foot end, and that's when we leave the space for some time and make sure that that sterilization process is complete. Once that's done, we don't go back immediately to the room. This is done at the end of the day. Wait for about maybe half an hour or an hour, or maybe even directly the next day is when we see our patients on that chair. So we ensure that everything's really clean. Now, with this, we come to the third level of protection, which was the air disinfection. If we talk about, I think we have a question here with a HEPA filter, are we okay to have the AC on in our clinic? Yes, of course, we can keep the ACs on now. It's a well-documented fact that as long as the air change in your room is happening, you are safe to put on your air conditioning. And there are air conditioners which are also fitted with HEPA filters, if that's what you would like to use. And we also have something which is a fourth layer of protection. And this is something that I have been thinking about lately. And I think it's preventive protection. You know, the time where we would not be using PPEs, or the time where we wouldn't have to be so careful, is one way of doing this is to ensure that all our patients are tested, be it testing with RT-PCR or be it testing with antigen testing. Whichever form of test that is available easily in your area and which is agreeable to your patients from a cost perspective should be done. Why? Because we want to make sure that not only for our own clinics, but also from a community exposure point of view, we want to ensure that our patients are getting tested. From time to time, it's been really long. It's been probably 8 months with this disease now. And if we don't realize at this point that testing is the only way forward. When it initially started, we knew that testing was a challenge. We didn't have the facilities, we didn't have the manpower, but as we've established systems now, as our tests are now available and are giving us instant reports, then what's the point of taking any type of risk? Why not, as healthcare workers, ask for these tests? This is for everyone's safety, and eventually, if you want to flatten the curve, that's something that will have to be done to ensure that is the ultimate level of protection that we can expect for our patients, as well as for our future. I mean, if there are certain countries which have been able to eliminate the virus, it's only because of rapid testing. And to talk about testing, I think you have seen our previous lives. You have seen the changing trends when it comes to testing. There are now saliva-based tests also which are going to become available. If you guys have heard of the Feluda test, that's something that should be available soon, which allows us to test our patients before we start any procedure. In the meantime, testing as a habit needs to be established to our patients, whether symptomatic or not. A test is something that should be done. In fact, I feel as healthcare workers, we should be getting periodic tests. In some countries, dentists are getting twice a weekly tests, like swab tests being done twice a week because of their level of exposure to their patients, the fact that people have started moving out. For all these reasons, testing would just be keeping ourselves super safe. And eventually, I think the ultimate level of protection, or the best strategy for protection for all of us, will be the vaccine. We don't know if this is going to be 3 years, 6 years, or 10 years, as they say. The average time to produce an effective vaccine with all necessary trials and procedures is averaged at 10.8 years. Now, if this is our current reality, the future seems extremely bleak. But having said, the vaccine for a pandemic is accelerated for sure. And in fact, I was reading the papers here in UAE, and they have already started giving vaccines to healthcare workers as the first line of defense. And while these vaccine trials are still undergoing, every day they're testing and using different things to try them, but our healthcare workers have already been immunized with a certain type of vaccine here in the UAE. So what I was just explaining or trying to see as a pattern was that maybe India is a few months behind at this point, and we will see this maybe a couple of months later, and we as healthcare workers will have to take that decision whether we want the vaccine or not, whether we are okay to take a vaccine which is still in trials. But that decision will have to come, and it will have to come soon for all of us. If we can actually do all of these things, which is self-protection by physical barriers, surface protection by using clean chemicals which help sterilize our areas, air disinfection with practical measures which are not infecting our environment with more chemicals, and making sure that we're doing enough preventive testing, then I think we can wait it out for the right kind of vaccine for us, not only as healthcare workers, but for us as a community. And we have heard of herd immunity, whether it's a myth or reality. That is something that we can't wait, for it to come about. What we can do in this current time is take all these 5 measures of protection and make sure that we are dealing with the potential side effects of these measures also at this point with our best practices. So with that, I would love if anyone has questions or even their own experience in terms of what are they doing in terms of protection from the beginning till now. I see our strategies evolving every day. I see ourselves applying different solutions to the same problem, and some things will stay, some things will probably evolve or get eliminated. But some things that we need to always remember is that staying safe is our moral responsibility, not just for ourselves as healthcare workers, but for the entire community. And if you're a dentist, if you're a doctor treating patients on a daily basis, you need to be even more careful, because one misstep, one mistake from your end could actually lead to community spread and exposure. So you don't want to take that chance at all, right? So good to see Arafat, Deepak, Pradeepa, Lynn. Good to have you guys watching. I'd love to hear about what you think about protection, and keep sending us your comments, your love. We've received an overwhelming response for our last live, and I'd love to get into these discussions with all of you, because I think we are all united in this as a community. We want to move on and talk about other things, but we can't ignore the fact that we are still living with the reality of the pandemic ongoing. A lot of people are still contracting the virus, getting the disease in its various forms, and we can't just ignore that fact and move on. We still have to learn to go about our days and our work with the moral responsibility of trying to control the pandemic and flatten the curve. So with that, I'd love for you guys to get a read on this book, which has more of these conversations, more of these thoughts and ideas, and it's one of the probably the only kind of book which is designed to be an interactive book. So in the pages of this book, you will also see links and resources and checklists which help you connect with this conversation with many more that we've been having over the last 6 months. So we are trying to build a community that is responsible and at the same time is employing strategies not only from this book but from across the world to ensure that we are staying safe. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this talk on protection and the 5 levels of protection, and I do look forward to seeing you guys on my next live, and do let me know if there's a topic you'd like me to cover. So thank you so much for attending, and if you guys have any questions, do write to me. And thank you, Sanjay Sethi. Thank you so much, and good to see you. And I think it's been too long, but we will catch up soon. Hi, Atamjeet. Good to see you, doctor. So nice to have all of you watching me, and so nice to have these amazing interactions on Facebook. So stay in touch, and I will connect soon again. See you next week. Thank you, Dr. Meenakshi. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you so much. So keep your comments coming, guys, and I will see you next week. Same place, same time. Till then, keep watching. Stay connected.